Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining me. If you're following along, we are reading one of my favorite books, The Holy Men by Susan Trott. I decided to share this because it brought on a depth of understanding for not only my personality, but also the ones around me. And I thought that someone else out there might enjoy the teachings in this book. And I read a couple chapters at a time just to allow absorption of the message within. So, Susan Trott, The Holy Man, Chapter 14, Ego. What do you think he came to see you about? The monks wondered aloud that evening. His egotism, answered Maria, the scientist, laughing. He wanted a stronger ego. They all laughed, but Joe said, You're right. When he grows stronger in his ego, he will no longer be so egotistical. Aren't we supposed to abandon our egos? Maria asked. Yes. When your ego gets strong enough, you'll be able to slough it off. If I abandoned my ego, what would happen to my science? Einstein completely abandoned his ego, said Joe. Then he was free to think, free to release his intuitive power. He had his devoted assistant to protect him. I think without an ego, you need someone to look after you. Do you think I need someone to take care of me? Joe asked. Yes, she said. Absolutely, they all said, laughing and pointing to his black eye and puffed up nose. Chapter 15. Impatient Woman. The long line to the holy man, if seen from above by an alien, could be construed to be one organism, for when the top end of it moved, the ripple of movement passed along the entire body. Indeed, each individual felt such a connection to the line, so bonded to the persons at either side of him, that it was almost hard to disband when the word came from the hermitage that the holy man had stopped receiving for the day. It was amazing, too, how word traveled like lightning up and down the line, and any little drama that had transpired among pilgrims, any accident or love affair or illumination, it belonged to them all because they were the line. They were individual pilgrims from all over the world, but they were also one entity with a strong solidarity. If it was threatened or seemed threatened by the occasional troublemaker, crazy person, or desperate person, alarm spread through its body. All pilgrims had to be integrated, but there were those ones who could make the line feel anxious, unhappy, vulnerable to harm, so that the experience of being in the line, which in itself was so healing, could be blighted. At these times, the line felt imperiled, so that if seen from above, it seemed to bristle, squirm, release an ominous cloud into its atmosphere. The impatient woman arrived early in the year, when the line was not very long, maybe 200 yards, but it looked long to her. This is ridiculous, she said. Why is it not even moving? He hasn't begun seeing people yet today, said the man ahead of her. When he does, it moves pretty fast. And meanwhile, you just stand here? That's right. The woman stood a few more minutes, fidgeting. She asked what hours the holy man saw the people, and the man said it varied, usually between the hours of 9 and 12 in the morning, but sometimes between 1 and 4 in the afternoon. He only receives us during 3 hours of the day? That's terrible. This should be better organized. And look, it's 20 past 9 now, and we might as well be stuck in cement, so probably going to be the afternoon hours today, right? He shrugged. Well, she announced, I'm not going to wait around any longer. It's up to you. She turned and started back down the trail, glad to be doing something, made momentarily stupid by her impatience, deprived of reason by her overriding exasperation. However, she soon realized the hours it would take her to walk down would be the hours if she stayed. She'd be moving up in the line, then the line started to move, which could be any minute. not to mention the fact that if she departed, she would not see the holy man at all. This gave her pause, and she stopped. She fell into an agony of indecision, stepping first forward, then backward, much like the dance of dappled ponies. Ahead of her, she saw some people coming up the path. If she was not quick to turn, they would take her abandoned place in line. "Don't bother coming," she called out to them. "The line's too long, and it's not even moving." They disregarded her advice and passed her by. There went her place. "I spent several days getting here," she told herself reasonably. "I should be willing to spend another day waiting. And it's so hard. Getting here, I was in motion. It's the standing around that's so maddeningly difficult. Just standing there with my face hanging out, not doing anything. I didn't bring anything to read or sew. I wonder if anyone has a crossword puzzle, book, or a pack of cards. Well, there's always charades." She turned and hurried back up the path to the line and took her place behind the two people who had passed her. "Change your mind?" "Yes, I'm afraid. I'm very restless. It's hard for me to be still." The man kindly taught her how to breathe slowly and deeply from the abdomen, concentrating on a long out breath, letting in the in breath take care of itself. "It will relax you," he said. It wasn't a crossword puzzle, but it was something with which to pass the time. She was a quick learner, a perfectionist, and pretty much excelled at all she undertook to do. She was one who had never found out that thing to do with her life which would fully occupy her and satisfy her relentlessness. This is why she had come to see the holy man. In no time at all, she was a champion deep breather, but this, of course, was not a career choice. The line didn't move much that day. When it broke for the camp making, she went about talking to people with the idea of reorganizing the system. Why not take turns? One day, the men could stand in line, the other day the women. That way we'd be free. They'd be free to take walks or go back to town to make phone calls or do anything they wanted. Or why not figure out exactly how many people, at most, the holy man could see in 3 hours and just those people stand in line for that day? Or there could be a watchman assigned to stand at the head of the line and signal when the holy man began to receive the pilgrims, so we could all fall into place. Or they told her that her ideas were impractical, mainly because there were always new people arriving. They pointed out the 3 main rules: no bribing, no saving places, and no butting in. They said that, as it was, there were rule breakers and troublemakers. If they tried anything new, it would be anarchy. The line actually worked very well as it was, nor would her ideas move the line any faster. Her ears pricked up when told of the existence of troublemakers, not considering for a minute that she herself, in a minor way, was well ensconced in that category. She said that she worked in the justice system, which was a lie, and it would be her pleasure to solve any problems that came up in the line and to keep order in general. She was very good at the sort of thing, and it would keep her busy while she waited to see the holy man. She was absolutely longing for something to do, or, she said, "I'll go mad." She told everyone to please send word up or down the line if she was needed. Not wanting the newcomer to go mad, they kept her busy with any problems that arose in the line. When she went to help, she lost her place and had to begin again at the end because the strict rules applied to her as well. But it was worth it to her to lose her spot if it meant having something to do. In this way, the one who was most impatient to see the holy man never got to see him because she was always going to the end of the line. Day after day, she made absolutely no progress and no headway. If anything, her movement was downward and backward. This was all right with her. She didn't mind because she was busy and useful and needed. It was she who confronted the drunk and tried to straighten out the point man. At first, she would scramble and scurry to where she was summoned, anxious to get the job, but over time she began to move slower and to get there just as fast, arriving serene and unruffled, so that her calmness eased the problem. She met a lot of people and made many friends. She stayed the entire summer. At the end of the summer, there ceased to be new arrivals, and the line grew shorter every day. It looked like she was going to see the holy man at last. but she decided she would rather come back to see him next year when there would be a whole new line to need her managing and counseling abilities. Meanwhile, she would seek out other kinds of lines. She'd found her career in life, line master. Sometimes, her secret heart of hearts, she called herself Peacemaker. Chapter 16. Rivals. Oh. Actually, I guess that's next session, reading session, chapter 14 and 15, 14 ego, and then the impatient woman. Any comments, questions? You want to share a story, maybe even a connection, drop it in the comments below. Pick up a copy of The Holy Man by Susan Trott. And thank you for watching. I just want to provide connection and insight and share a little piece of, I guess, a makeup of me. Take care. Much love. Be well.